So, yeah, I mean, there's probably three things that excite me the most, and you would have seen at Mark's keynote yesterday, the announcement of Customer 360 Truth, the sort of the unified profile, the single source of truth for brands to get a unified view of their customer and be able to use that unified view to personalize the experience. That's exciting for me. All our various Einstein announcements, there was the voice announcements you would have seen in the keynote yesterday, and then tomorrow hopefully you'll come to the marketing keynote and you'll see a lot of the Einstein personalization features we've released in the upcoming for marketing use cases to help personalize messaging. Again, scalability of AI. We've got Cyber Week coming up. Well, it's actually, I used to say it's just the US, but there's Black Friday everywhere now. In Europe, people still have Black Friday too. And so that coming up, and hopefully all those Einstein capabilities will help people through that busy period. And then three, the thing that, the broader mission I think this year at Dreamforce is this focus on the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 of them. One of the exciting things at the marketing keynote, one of the speakers that we're going to have, the public transportation system in the Bay Area, known as BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit. Their chief communications officer is going to be part of the marketing keynote tomorrow, and one of the things she's going to talk about is the idea of sustainable cities, building public transportation for the future, because obviously I think we all know that, the environment's obviously very important, and she also has a compelling message, I think, for marketers, because public transportation systems, whether here or anywhere else in the world, everyone is their customer. So when they're talking about personalizing experience, they have to deal with language, gender, ethnicity, every single demographic group, because everyone is their customer. And so she probably has a very unique message about how to deal with that sort of experience that all of us probably experience every day. So, no, it's a great question. There's four key components, I think, to any compelling marketing solution. The starting point is knowing. Knowing meaning knowing your customer. So a marketing solution has to be a conduit for data to give a unified profile. I mentioned Customer 360 Truth before, but ultimately giving any marketer a unified view of their customers is a starting point, and having that data stored, because you can't go and personalize or engage anything unless you start with the ability of knowing customers through data. So that's the first point. The second point is personalization. Once I have the data and I understand my customer base, both from the known and the unknown sector, then I have the ability to apply things like AI, as well as other personalization and rule-based methods to personalize messages in whatever channel that someone may receive said message. So whether it's email, mobile, SMS, advertising, web, whatever it is, and offline too, I can use the data knowledge of the customer to personalize what they go and see. Next thing is engagement. Channels are growing, right? I mentioned those channels, but we're going into voice, we're going into the new frontiers, people interacting with devices in room. BBVA last year, I mentioned them because I was so excited, like when you interact with the ATM, that's an interface if you're a bank. So all the channels you'll think of, email, mobile, social, web, advertising. So and a voice and everything else, but what I think is interesting is where we're going next. So you mentioned advertising, right? So, for the last, advertising digitally is, according to eMarketer, digital advertising is about $330 billion US globally. So it's a massive number, right? It's about 50% of the total advertising is now digital. And we've had the channels historically, search, display, banner advertising, social media, videos being the fastest growing, right? But if you think about how advertising is changing, typically, we've had ads for advertising appearing in traditional TV or a banner anytime you see a visual ad. But with this move to Netflix and Amazon Prime and streaming services, while Netflix doesn't have advertising does appear in other channels. And so a true advertising platform needs to be able to reach somebody in those channels equally as they're reaching them on YouTube or search and everything else. And so we think that a scalable solution for marketing needs to be able to address the new frontiers, OTT television being one of them, as equally as it addresses traditional advertising in digital like search and display. And so that's what we're excited about, and you'll see a little bit of this in the marketing keynote tomorrow, that the idea that where people experience an ad, even if it's a new frontier channel, it has to be equally connected with everything else, because we know that's where the world is going. People are moving to streaming-based television. People are moving to voice as a frontier. You need to be able to reach people where they are, again, respectfully and with permission, but a true system needs to be actually engaged with all those channels. So our level of personalization is three really three plus one other additional announcement I'll talk about that you'll see tomorrow and we announced in the pre-Dreamforce news, all based on AI. One called Messaging Insights, one called Copy Insights, one called Content Selection. And I'll explain them briefly. Messaging Insights is basically if I'm a user of Salesforce Marketing Cloud and I log into my console in the morning, notifications will blare up, telling me things that are important for me to know based on AI. i.e., maybe I ran a promotional campaign for Black Friday yesterday and the open rate was 20% below last year's campaign or my previous campaign. So immediately alerting me to AI, via AI, that something is wrong or beyond the ordinary, but also telling me why, saying that, okay, it was a low open rate, but it was a low open rate because the subject line wasn't compelling. Copy Insights takes that a step further. So if Messaging Insights has told me what was wrong and why it was wrong, Copy Insights tells me what to do to fix it. So if I've been told the subject line was the reason why the open rate was down, Copy Insights tells me this is what you should change it to make it better when you next run the campaign, so you won't have the low subject rates. So instead of me going through all my, my notebook of all of my favorite subject lines of every Power campaign, AI is literally telling me how to change that subject to ensure that the open rate goes back to what it should be. And then Content Selection, which may be my personal favorite of the three, is if you and I, the three of us are in a marketing campaign, so some brand has sent us, BBVA for example, has sent us all emails, right? And I open the email on day one, and whatever the offer is in the hero image at the top is something I react or don't react to. If you've opened that same email on day three, if you're too busy and you only open the email on day three, the image that you see will be based on not just who you are, but how anyone else who's got that same email interacted with that offer. So if we were negatively interacting with that offer or didn't take advantage of it, you're unlikely to see it because Einstein Content Selection has made the determination that this offer is not compelling. So it's changing the content of the email in real time based on not just who you are, but all the engagement everybody else has had with that content. Yeah, so there were those three that I mentioned, those three Einstein announcements. Another cool one is, again, with email, interactive email. Interactive email, I think, personally, is the most compelling thing to happen to email as a channel since the smartphone. When the smartphone came along, that changed the way email became because suddenly we went from desktop and laptop to this form factor, and that changed the way emails were, right? So interactive email, I think, is the biggest revolution to email since this was invented. And basically, it removes another friction point. I think, as you well know, as someone who's been in marketing forever, that every time you do something, you add another friction point and the conversion rate drops. If I get an email and I have to click to a landing page, I have to fill the form out, go to a shopping cart, every subsequent click reduces the conversion rate. If I can do all of that stuff in the email itself, if I can have the reviews in the email itself, so I can actually fill the form for reviews, or make a selection for the item I want to buy, or give the form without ever having to click onto a separate landing page, the conversion rate for that campaign is only going to go up. So basically, interactive email is just that, being able to embed reviews, forms, item selection and whatnot within the email itself, which means the person who receives it never has to go somewhere else to give the information.